Here's how to tie-dye a shirt. The materials that you will need are a plastic apron, either vinyl or plastic gloves, a few rubber bands, a plastic tablecloth, a plastic bin, a 100% cotton shirt, your selected dye, a gallon bag, and color fixative if you would like your colors to last longer. First, put on your gloves and your apron. If you are wearing long sleeves, pull them up, and if you have long hair, tie it back. Then, grab your cotton shirt and begin to dunk it into the water in your bin. Make sure to saturate your entire shirt until it's completely soaked. Once it's completely soaked, take it out and begin to wring out the water. You want to wring out as much water as you can. You only need your shirt to be lightly damp. If your shirt is too wet, all the colors will run and they'll become a muddy mess. So wring out as much water as you can. Then lay your shirt flat. Now, this first design is called the spiral design. With our shirt laying flat on our table, you're going to pinch wherever you want the center of the spiral to be and begin twisting either counterclockwise or clockwise, whichever direction you choose, and continue twisting in that direction until your entire shirt becomes one spiraled bundle. So it should look almost like a hurricane when it's hurricane season. Once you have your spiral complete, you're going to take your rubber bands and you're going to begin to put them around your spiral. Take your time to make sure that your spiral stays intact. If you have any parts that are loose, tuck them in. Now, grab your dyes and begin putting the dye on your shirt. You're going to want to be putting the dyes in each section that's separated by the rubber bands. Make sure to take time while doing this and try not to get too much dye on the table, as that could also lead to you ruining the bottom part of your shirt because the dye could accidentally ruin the bottom part. If you need to, use paper towels to clean up any spilled dye. Now, as you're putting the dye in the shirt, you want to make sure you're not overdoing it. If you overdo it, it's going to make it so that your shirt becomes kind of a muddy mess and the colors are going to blend too much together. When you want to flip over, make sure you clean all of the dye so then that way it's not going to ruin what you just did on the other side. You see here, my dye, I already put too much. See how it's running at the bottom and see all that's left over? Way too much dye. So put it in a gallon bag when you're done. This is what the spiral should look like when it's done. Now, I used a polyester shirt on accident, so that's why the colors didn't take. Yours should look more vibrant. So now we're going to talk about the bullseye design. The bullseye design is rather easy, and it starts off very similarly to the spiral. All you're going to do is pinch wherever you want the center of the bullseye to be and pull it up straight, so then that way it makes almost what looks like a little ghost. Okay, lay that flat, because that's going to be the easiest way for you to put the rubber bands on them. So now you're going to grab your rubber bands, and what you're going to do is you're going to be placing them along your little ghost here. And what this is going to do is this is going to separate the layers of the bullseye. So every single rubber band is going to be the cutoff of that color of the bullseye. So you're going to want a rubber band all the way down. You can make them even, you can make some rows bigger. It really doesn't matter. It's up to you. Once you have the rubber bands in place, begin getting your dyes and dyeing those sections. Once the sections are all done on one side, you're going to want to take your bullseye shirt and you're going to flip it over and you're going to put the colors on the other side. Again, do not saturate it too much or else the colors will run and it just will not take properly. When you're done putting the dye, you're going to take your shirt and you're going to put it into a gallon bag and let it sit in the gallon bag. You can see here I'm actually allowing it to drip because again, I accidentally put too much dye. So this is what the bullseye should look like. Again, the colors didn't come through very well because I accidentally used polyester shirts. Now, Then we have the twist. So for the twist, you're going to start with your shirt laying flat, but you're going to be choosing one of the sleeves to work with. So I'm going to be choosing this sleeve, and I'm just going to start twisting and twisting and twisting, starting at the corner of that sleeve and working my way all the way down. And I'm going to twist this into a little cinnamon roll looking shape, and I'm going to keep twisting and keep twisting and keep twisting until the entire shirt looks like this little cinnamon roll. Now, once I have this cinnamon roll here, I'm going to begin putting my rubber bands around it. Now, this can be a little tricky because obviously the ending part of the twist is going to want to undo itself. So just take your time and then make sure to flip it over to check to make sure that everything was in place. And if not, just go ahead and fix any mistakes that there may be. And then once you have a satisfied little cinnamon bun, you're going to start putting the dye. The dye is going to be very similar to how you did the dye for pretty much all the other shirts, or especially the spiral design. And once you have the dye on one side, you're going to clean your tablecloth and you're going to flip it over and put the same colors on the other side. Again, you don't want to saturate it too much because if you do, the colors are going to bleed and it's just not going to look very good. And then again, when you're done, you're going to put it in a gallon bag. So this is what the twist looks like when it's done. Again, my colors are not very saturated because unfortunately I used polyester instead of cotton. And then finally we have the crumple. This is the easiest shirt to make. Essentially what you're going to do is you're literally just going to start pinching the shirt wherever and just keep doing that until the entire shirt is pinched up into a crumpled mess. And then you're going to take your rubber bands and as best as you possibly can, you're going to try to rubber band this in a couple of sections to make sure that it's all combined nicely and secured. Then once the rubber band's set, you can pretty much put the color wherever you want. Just know that the outside are the outsides of the shirts while the inside colors are going to focus on the center of the shirt. So again, put the colors wherever you want them, and when you flip, clean up. And then if you put too much dye, make sure that it drips out before you put it into your gallon bag. Okay, now this is what the crumple shirt would look like. Oh, excuse me, and make sure you clean up your mess because again, you don't want to leave a mess for the person coming after you. And this is what the crumple shirt would look like. So again, the crumple shirt kind of just has its own unique design. And really it depends on where you put the colors. Now, once your shirt has been sitting in the gallon bag, you want to let it sit for about 6 to 8 hours, or you want to let it sit overnight. And then once it has sat for that amount of time, you're going to rinse it with water until the water runs clear. So first you're going to take it out of your gallon bag and you're going to start rinsing it while the rubber bands are still in place. So rinse it on both sides and try to squeeze the water out as best as you can. Then you're going to remove the rubber bands and you're going to start just rinsing and rinsing and rinsing it until you see that the water doesn't contain any more dye coming out of the shirt, that it's just running clear. Once you see that the water is running clear and there's no more dye coming out, then your shirt is ready to wash. And so what you're going to do now, if you want, you are going to wash it by itself in a machine. Do not put it with other shirts because your parents will kill you because it'll ruin them. Now, if you want, before you wash it, you can use a fixative to make the colors last longer and then wash it. And, you know, that's just going to make the colors last a lot longer. So these are the 4 different designs. I hope you guys now know how to tie dye. So go and have fun and enjoy making your shirt.